What's up, everybody? Jay here from Tap and Turn Gaming, coming at you today with another EDH deck tech. So today's deck tech, as you can see, is for Athreos, God of Passage, with a Death and Taxes theme in mind. So this was a viewer request that was sent to us. That viewer was Jose Alist. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, Jose, or maybe you go by Jose. Either way, he requested to us that we do Athreos, God of Passage, and he wants a Death and Taxes style theme. He also went on to say that he's been out of the game for a while, probably around over 10 years or so, and he's just getting back into it, wants to get into the EDH format, which, thumbs up to that, because it's our favorite format here at Tap and Turn Gaming. So, this is the deck list that I threw together. So, when I think Death and Taxes, I take it literally. So, when I think Death, I think, obviously creature kill, permanent destruction, things of that nature. When I think Taxes, I think making it more difficult for my opponents to do things and taking things away from my opponent, in, I guess, one sense of the word. So you will see that in the deck list. So let's, kick it off here. Obviously, we'll take a look at our commander first, who is Athreos, God of Passage. So he's a 3-cost, 5/4 legendary enchantment creature god from the Athreos block. He's indestructible. As long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, he's not a creature. And whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. So just Athreos himself kind of plays into this theme where, your opponent has a decision to make whenever one of your creatures dies. Do they want to let you get it back to your hand immediately, or do they want to spend resources from their life total to keep it in your graveyard? So he really does play into the theme pretty well, which is really nice. So yeah, that's more or less the general. I mean, him being indestructible makes it so that he'll be very hard to remove off the board. Basically, the only way your opponent can remove him is if they have some sort of exile effect. So you won't see too many. Actually, I don't think you'll see any things in the deck that normally I would put into a deck to protect my general, because he's already got really great protection built in. The fact that he's not a creature if our devotion to white and black is less than 7 is not really a downside. I see it. I mean, just the fact that you give your opponent that decision of either paying 3 life or just giving you a creature back to your hand when it dies is just really nice on its own. So anyway, I've blabbed on enough about Athreos. Let's take a look at the land base. Pretty basic. We got a Bajuka Bog for the Graveyard Hate, Caves of Koilos, Command Tower, Concealed Courtyard, Mary of the Sky Ruin. So if we have 7 or more planes on the board, we can get a creature back from the yard right to the board every turn. Ghost Quarter. So this kind of played into the tax theme, I guess, or I guess you could also play into the death theme, where you can destroy a land. Godless Shrine, High Market for some sacrifice outlet. Isolated Chapel, then we run 12 planes, a Shambling Vent, a Strip Mine, which is another way to destroy a land. 12 Swamps, Tectonic Edge, another land destruction land. Temple of Silence and Vault of the Archangel, because giving your guys Death Touch and Lifelink is nothing to scoff at. So, pretty basic land base, nothing crazy. Next up, we will take a look at the enchantments that we run. It's a pretty hefty portion of the deck. It's 16. So we run Attrition, be able to sack a guy to kill a guy as long as it's not a black creature. Authority of the Consoles makes it so that your opponent's creatures come into play tapped, and whenever they play a guy, you gain a life. So kind of into that tax theme. Blood Reckoning, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, that creature's controller loses 1 life, so into that tax-style theme. Blood Chief Ascension, at the beginning of each end step, if opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you can put a quest counter on this, and as long as it has 3 or more Yes, as long as it has 3 or more quest counters. Whenever a card goes to an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, they lose 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Curse of Exhaustion, you can enchant a player with this, and the enchanted player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. Debtor's Knell lets you take a creature back from any graveyard and put it onto the board on your side during your upkeep. Dictate of Erebos is just Grave Pact with Flash. Exquisite Blood, whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So if your opponent decides to take the 3 life hit, to not let you get a creature back to your hand with Athreos, you'll gain 3 life off of it. We also run quite a few things in the deck that drain and gain, so this will kind of play into that as well. Ghostly Prison, you can't be attacked unless the attacking creature's controller pays 2 for each creature that they're attacking you with. Grave Pact is Grave Pact. Whenever you lose a guy, everybody else loses a guy. Hissing Miasma, whenever a creature attacks you, its controller loses a life, so pretty similar to Blood Reckoning. Karmic Justice, whenever a spell or an ability an opponent controls destroys a non-creature permanent you control, you can destroy target permanent that opponent controls. Luminarch Ascension, at the beginning of each opponent's end step, if you didn't lose life, you can put a quest counter on this, and then as long as it has 4 or more quest counters on it, you can spit out 4/4 Flying Angels for 2 mana. Palace Siege plays very well into this deck with both modes, so you can choose cons to get that creature back to your hand every turn on your upkeep, or you can choose dragons to drain each opponent for 2 life and you gain 2 life. Phyrexian Arena to draw us an extra card every turn, and Underworld Dream so that every time an opponent draws a card, they take a damage. So those are our enchantments. Lots of things in that package. Sorry, my laptop mouse is very sensitive, so it's kind of kicking around the screen there. But as you can see, lots of enchantments in the deck, and they really do play into the theme quite well. Next, we'll take a look at our sorceries. We run Curse of the Cabal. When you straight up cast it, target player sacrifices half the permanents they control rounded down, which is pretty brutal, but it costs 10 mana. But you can also suspend it for 2 and 2 black for 2 turns. And then while it's suspended, any player, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if it's suspended, that player may sacrifice a permanent to put 2 time counters on it. So, it really plays very well into the theme. Do you want this to kick off and maybe target you and you'll sacrifice half your permanents rounded down? Or do you want to sacrifice a permanent on your upkeep to put 2 time counters on it? So either way, your opponents are losing things. Deadly Tempest is a wrath for us, but it also drains every player for 1 life for each creature on their side of the board that died when you casted it. Exsanguinate drains each opponent for X, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. In Garruk's Wake, destroys all creatures and all planeswalkers that you don't control. Ruinous Path is just some nice spot removal for us on a creature or planeswalker. Vindicate just straight up destroys any permanent. And Wrath of God, is Wrath of God, destroys all creatures. Next, we'll take a look at our instants. We run an Anguished Unmaking that lets us exile any non-land permanent. We lose 3 life, which is fine, because we'll probably gain it back at some point with the myriad of things that we have that gain us life. We have Batwing Broom that prevents all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. If you spent white to cast it, each opponent loses 1 life for each attacking... Oh, no, I'm sorry. If you spent white to cast it, you prevent all combat damage. If you spent black to cast it, each player loses 1 life for each attacking creature they control. So, you could win the game on the spot with that if your opponent is, at a low enough amount of life and they try to swing in with you with everything. You cast that. As long as you paid a white and a black, you'll prevent all the damage and then drain them for 1 for every creature that they attacked you with. So it's pretty good. Hero's Downfall destroys any creature or planeswalker at instant speed. Mortified destroys any creature or enchantment at instant speed. And Utter End exiles target non-land permanent at instant speed. So those are our instants. Next we'll take a look at our 4 planeswalkers that we run. Kaya, Ghost Assassin, is the first one. You can pay 0 to exile her up to 1 target creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you lose 2 life. Or you can -1, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, or -2, each opponent discards a card and you draw a card. So I felt like she just played really well into the theme. Liliana Vess, the OG Liliana, I guess you could say. Her +1, target player discards a card, or -2, you can tutor for a card and put it on top of your library, or -8, you put all creature cards in all graveyards into play under your control. Then we have Obnixilis Reignited. You can +1 to draw a card and lose a life, or -3 to destroy any creature unconditionally, or -8, target opponent gets an emblem with whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life. And then we have Sorin Grim Nemesis. His +1 is to reveal the top card of your library and put it in your hand, and then each opponent loses life, equal to its converted mana cost. -X, he deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. Then his ultimate is -9, put a number of 1/1 black vampire knight creature tokens with lifelink onto the battlefield equal to the highest life total among all players. So those are our planeswalkers. Next are our artifacts. We run an Ashnod's Altar just for a free sack outlet that gets us 2 colorless mana. Commander's Fear is just a mana rock for us, and if we no longer need it, we can sacrifice it away to draw a card. Norn's Annex is very similar to Ghostly Prison, except creatures can't attack us or a planeswalker we control unless they pay a Phyrexian white. So that's either they pay 1 white or 2 life. So if your opponent's not playing white in their deck, they literally have to spend 2 life to attack you with any creature. Then Orzhov's Signet, another nice mana rock for us, and Soul Ring because it's Soul Ring, and it's just so widely available in all of the Commander precons because it's literally in every one. Alright, lastly, we'll take a look at the creature base. We run an Angel of Despair because it's a 5/5 flyer that destroys any permanent when it comes into play. Archon of Justice, when it dies, we exile target permanent. Ashen Rider, when it enters the battlefield or dies, we exile target permanent. Ashling the Extinguisher, whenever she hits a player, we can target a creature and then that player sacrifices that creature. Blood Artist, whenever he or another creature dies, target player loses 1 and we gain 1. Blood Gift Demon is a 5/4 flyer with a Phyrexian Arena attached to him. Cryptghast, a nice card that has Extort, so that plays into our theme, but really why we play him is he doubles the mana of our swamps. Fleshbag Marauder, when he comes in, each player sacrifices a creature, so just there to get that sacrifice trigger. Kambal, Console of Allocation. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life, so plays very perfectly into our theme. Karmic Guide is a 2/2 flyer with Prot Black for 5, and it has Echo for 5, so during your next upkeep after this came into play, you have to pay its Echo cost, so you sacrifice it. We're never going to pay the Echo cost, we're just going to sacrifice this to get it back in a myriad of ways that we have to get it back. But when it enters the battlefield, we can return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield. Lord of the Void is a 7/7 flyer. When he hits a player, we exile that player's top 7 cards of their deck, and then we can put a creature card from among those cards onto the board under our control. Loxodon Gatekeeper makes it so that artifacts, creatures, and lands our opponent's control come into play tapped, so plays very well into our theme. Magister of Worth is a 4/4 flyer with Will of the Council, so when it comes into play, starting with you, each player votes for Grace or Condemnation. If Grace gets more votes, each player returns each creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. If Condemnation gets more votes or the vote is tied, destroy all creatures other than Magister of Worth. So just a pretty cool card. If you're playing 1v1, your opponent's probably not going to choose Condemnation. They'll probably choose Grace, and then you'll choose Condemnation. And then just about every time, in every circumstance, if you play that 1v1, it's a board wipe that leaves you with this on the board. So, pretty nice. We have Massacre Worm. So Massacre Worm's a 6/5 for 6. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Merciless Executioner is basically just Fleshbag Marauder called Merciless Executioner. Does the same exact thing. Necrotic Sliver is a 2/2 for 3. All slivers have pay 3, sacrifice as permanent, destroy target permanent. It's the only sliver that we play in the deck, but basically we can play it and then pay 3 and sack it to blow up any permanent and then hopefully get it back with our general or something else that we have that can let us get creatures back. Obsidat Ghost Council is a 5/5 for 5. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 and we gain 2, and then at the beginning of our end step we can exile this. If we do, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep. It gains haste. So basically we can just keep blinking this out every turn and draining and gaining for 2. And then it also makes this card relatively difficult to kill, but we like it just because it drains and gains, and it plays into our theme. Ravos, I can't talk. Ravos Soul Tender, a 5-cost 2/2 flyer that gives your other creatures +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So, kind of like a Khan's-sided Palace Siege on a flying body, so that's not bad. Plus, he gives your creatures a glorious anthem. Sadistic Hypnotist is a 2/2 for 5, where you can sack a creature to make target player discard 2 cards, so that's pretty savage. At the cost of sacrificing 1 creature, you can rip 2 cards out of their hand. That's pretty powerful. Shadowborn Demon is a 5/6 for 5. He's a flyer. When he enters the battlefield, destroy target non-demon creature, and then at the beginning of our upkeep, if there are fewer than 6 cards in our graveyard, we have to sacrifice a creature, which is fine. If we don't meet that stipulation, we can sacrifice him to himself and then get him back and recast him again. Sheoldred Whispering One, just a black EDH staple, a 6/6 Swamp Walker that gets a creature back out of your graveyard straight to the board on your upkeep and then makes your opponents have to sacrifice a creature on their upkeeps. Slum Reaper is just a bigger, fatter Merciless Executioner / Fleshbag Marauder. Thalia Heretic Cathar is a 3/2 for 3 with first strike, and makes it so that creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control come into play tapped. And then Windborn Muse, which is a ghostly prison on a 2/3 flying body. So that about wraps up the deck, guys. So I felt like we hit the Death and Taxes theme pretty well with this deck. There's probably other cards that, could be better suited over some of the cards that I have in here. But I did kind of want to keep the deck relatively budget, because I know Jose, said he was just getting back into the game and may not have a, disposable outcome, that he can just toss money and toss money and toss money into cards. So I wanted to keep the deck relatively budget, I guess. It's nothing like the $50 and under videos that we used to do. But according to TCG Player, this deck will run you about $246. So, $246 is not a small amount of money, but compared to most EDH decks out there, it's relatively budget. So, but yeah, that about wraps up the deck tech, guys. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Jose, I hope you enjoyed it especially, and I hope you get some ideas from it. I hope this was kind of along the lines of what you were looking for. I know you wanted a lot of enchantments in the deck, so we packed in 16 of them for you that I felt like, really hit the theme and drove it home. So yeah, hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, crush that thumbs up button. It really does help out a lot. The more you crush that thumbs up button, the easier our videos are to find for other people on YouTube. Leave me some comments in the comment section below of what you thought of this deck tech. If there are any cards that you would suggest to Jose to add in or take out or anything like that, leave the comments down in the comment section below. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, Tap and Turn Gaming, please crush that subscribe button. Derek and I really do appreciate it, guys and gals. So again, this has been Jay with Tap and Turn Gaming, and again, this has been an Athreos EDH deck tech with a Death and Taxes theme. Hope everybody enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you later. Thanks a lot for watching.